Welcome to the Family Bible Journey. If you're interested in seeing how the journaling that we mention in the podcast works, check out our website at familybiblejourney.com or look for us on Facebook and Instagram. Thanks for listening. This is episode 415, Season 1 of the Family Bible Journey Old Testament podcast. Today we're looking at Proverbs chapter 18. The title of today's podcast is Quick to Speak, Slow to Learn. And our key verses for today, the entirety of the chapter where we read, Whoever isolates himself seeks his own desire. He breaks out against all sound judgment. A fool takes no pleasure in understanding, but only in expressing his opinion. When wickedness comes, contempt comes also, and with dishonor comes disgrace. The words of a man's mouth are deep waters. The fountain of wisdom is a bubbling brook. It is not good to be partial to the wicked, or to deprive the righteous of justice. A fool's lips walk into a fight, and his mouth invites a beating. A fool's mouth is his ruin, and his lips are a snare to his soul. The words of a whisperer are like delicious morsels. They go down into the inner parts of the body. Whoever is slack in his work is a brother to him who destroys. The name of the Lord is a strong tower. The righteous man runs to it and is safe. A rich man's wealth is his strong city, and like a high wall in his imagination. Before destruction, a man's heart is haughty, but humility comes before honor. If one gives an answer before he hears, it is his folly and shame. A man's spirit will endure sickness, but a crushed spirit who can bear? An intelligent heart acquires knowledge, and the ear of the wise seeks knowledge. A man's gift makes room for him, and brings him before the great. The one who states his case first seems right, until the other comes and examines him. The lot puts an end to quarrels, and decides between powerful contenders. A brother offended is more unyielding than a strong city, and quarreling is like the bars of a castle. From the fruit of a man's mouth his stomach is satisfied, but he is satisfied by the yield of his lips. Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it will eat its fruits. He who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord. The poor use entreaties, but the rich are answered roughly. A man of many companions may come to ruin, but there is a friend who sticks closer than a brother. This is the word of the Lord. In this chapter, there are many proverbs that talk about the foolishness of speaking without listening. And I'm going to read verses 2, 6, 7, and 13 to begin our discussion back to back. A fool takes no pleasure in understanding, but only in expressing his opinion. A fool's lips walk into a fight, and his mouth invites a beating. A fool's mouth is his ruin, and his lips are a snare to his soul. If one gives an answer before he hears, it is his folly and shame. And then also verse 17. The one who states his case first seems right, until the other comes and examines him. These proverbs, each of them, have this theme about how foolish it is for us to speak first and listen second. And this is something that is important for many of us. And as a person who works with many churches and many pastors, I'm going to go ahead and pick on pastors this episode because we are in a variety of ways actually paid to speak. And there are many pastors who are really good at sharing their opinions and their thoughts first, thinking that they are justified and right in what they say, and that should be the end of the matter. But this isn't very realistic. And as a pastor, I can pick on myself in this one, because as somebody who has walked with hundreds of people through all sorts of seasons of life, there are many similarities. There are many themes that we see. And even though I may have walked with many other people, when someone comes to talk to me to receive either comfort or counsel, it is important for me to make sure that I am listening first. Also, in my work with congregations, I've worked with hundreds of congregations in various parts of the country. And when I go into a place and I'm just getting to know a pastor or a leadership team or working with some folks from a congregation, I am going to see, just because I've been in a lot of places and worked with a lot of congregations, I'm going to see many similarities to other situations. I'm going to see many trends and tendencies that oftentimes many of the people of that particular congregation are oblivious to because they don't have the perspective that I do. But when I see these things, I've had to learn to not immediately jump on those things, but rather to keep listening. Maybe make a note or two on some of the things that I've seen so I can allow them to tell their story, because every situation is unique. Every congregation is unique. Every church leader comes with their own set of experiences and passions and priorities. And if I am going to help a congregation discover new life in their ministry, then it is absolutely essential that I listen to the wisdom of this particular chapter and listen before I come to speak. Otherwise, I am no better than a doctor who maybe is at their limit and has stopped listening and treats a patient for the symptoms of the previous patient because their mind was just not in a conversation. And so this is vitally important for us to listen first. But in order for us to listen first, we need to have a heavy dose of humility. And this we hear described in verse 12. I have verse 12, the second half of verse 12. Humility comes before honor. I have that highlighted as an important passage, and I also have it written as one of those words of wisdom sections in the Journal Bible, where it says WOW, humility comes before honor. And then just a little bit further down in verse 15, it says, an intelligent heart acquires knowledge, and the ear of the wise seeks knowledge. This, again, comes from a heart of humility. If we think that we already know, if we think that we've already got everything figured out, then we're not going to listen, because there is no more need for us to have additional data or facts or opinions to make our own opinion known. But this makes us out to be a fool. And to take this wisdom of this chapter, the importance of listening first before speaking, to the next level, I also want to encourage all of the listeners to our podcast to resist the temptation of seeking confirmation bias. In other words, only listening to those that you know are going to agree with you ahead of time. Because if we are only listening to voices that we know are going to agree with us or that we are going to agree with, we might as well be the ones speaking. And we would live our lives, or at least have a significant danger of trying to live our lives, in a constant feedback loop where we are only being hardened in our positions and opinions by surrounding ourselves by voices that tell us what we want to hear. And in this day and an age that is largely ruled by the algorithm, these social media and news feeds and all the ways that we receive digital content are actually designed to give us more of what we want, more of what we've looked for in the past, more of what we've clicked on in the past. And so this is very hard, and we need to be very intentional to go and seek outside sources of news or opinions, which is why I have forsworn most American news sources, favoring instead to listen to foreign news sources to receive truly outside perspectives on what is happening here in the States. And when I'm studying archaeology or other biblical things, I'll often turn to secular resources that are oftentimes going to challenge me in my positions and make me a little uncomfortable. But by engaging with these other voices and listening to outside sources of information, I find my study to be much more enriching and exciting as I learn and I grow wrestling with these other ideas. And so we end today's episode with an encouragement to listen before speaking, that we would be seen as the wise person instead of the fool, who, much to their own detriment, makes sure they are heard before listening to others. If you appreciate this podcast as a part of your daily routine and would like to become a monthly sponsor so that others are blessed as you are by the podcast, go to FamilyBibleJourney.com to learn more. Sponsorships are tax deductible and cover our operating expenses like hosting and the services that make this podcast work. Our blessing for today. May God bless you with open ears, mind, and heart so that you may listen first, learn to understand, and care for others with the love of Christ. Amen.